Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Greg West coming to you with Road to Freedom No More Chains podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we will be talking with a friend of mine that I've met a couple weeks ago at an event, Carolyn White, not Carolyn Williams, and that's an inside joke because I'm bad with names, as some of you guys know. And we were just going to talk about some of the things that she's done to overcome the stigma of coming home as a restored citizen. But before we get into that, as I always like to tell everybody what this channel is about and how we operate. This channel here is about empowering people who have been incarcerated or coming home and let them know that you can change with the stories of people like us who have come home and are doing positive things in the community. We just don't interview our restored citizens. We also interview our allies, people who help us, because there are a lot of people who have helped us along this way. And we believe that everybody needs a helping hand. So that's why we like to come back and offer that helping hand ourselves. If you would like to support this channel, there will be a PayPal and Venmo and Cash App at the end where you can. If you don't have it to give, keep coming back. The biggest way we believe that you can support this channel is hit the like button and subscribe and share with your friends. Because the main thing is helping breaking the narrative. I mean, breaking down the stereotypes of restored citizens. Once we've paid our debt to society, we need to let society know that we are citizens, not just restored citizens. We are citizens, and we are doing positive things in the community, and we are helping a lot of people. With that being said, good evening again, Carolyn. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Greg, for having me on here. Well,
I'm excited because when I heard you speaking at that event 2 Sundays ago, I said, yeah, we need to have powerful women like that because see, like what people don't realize is that right now one of the biggest segment of women, I mean, people coming home from penitentiaries are women, and they are also a lot of times the forgotten people in the reentry. When we talk about reentry, you always see people being represented by men, by men, by men. But there's a lot of women who are coming home, and we need to help have them to understand that they can change too. And like just some things that I've noticed that reentry affects women a lot different because a lot of times you guys are mothers and have to readjust with the children. So with that being said, our guest today, I'm going to let her introduce herself instead of me doing the reading of the bio and everything. Let's do something different today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Carolyn.
all right. My name's Carolyn White. I just did 15 out of a 20-year sentence. I've been home now for about 13, 14 months. Um, as far as becoming home, it was a huge adjustment. It was a major adjustment. Like I said, when I left, my children were 7 and 11. Coming home, they're now 24, 28. I have 2 grandchildren. So it's a huge adjustment. You have to kind of rebuild relationships with your children. You have to rebuild relationships with your family.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me personally, I had to let people from my past go. They're no longer in my life, basically because they were not healthy for me. And I need healthy people that are going to support me and encourage me. And if you can't do that, if you're just going to continue to bring me down, I don't need you in my life. So I took my a long time ago, and I don't need that from anyone else.
So speaking of that, what were like the changing of the environment and friends? Because I know that was a big thing that I had to work on in my thinking. Like, am I still going to seem cool to these people who and all of that stuff? So what were some of the obstacles that you had to go with your own thinking, not the physical aspect, but your own thinking, that the unhealthy belief system about readjusting and finding new positive people to associate with? What were some of those adjustments that you had to do?
I had to figure out who was going to be healthy for me, who was about what, who had the values and the morals that I now instilled into myself, who's going to match up to that. And I had to go kind of on that basis, who is going to be there when I absolutely needed them to be there. Who am I going to be able to instill my trust into? And, a lot of returning citizens have huge trust issues, and I still do. So I'm still working on that. And it's like, who is going to be there? Who's going to support me? Whose phone number am I going to call someone? And I know they're there. And it's not very many people at all. You know, who's not going to, who's going to accept me now, not who I used to be. Right. Who's going to see me and see every achievement that I have made along the way, the changes I've made within myself, the changes that I'm bringing out into this community. Who are then people going to be? That's who I want in my life.
And I know for me, part of the big thing of making that adjustment was having some positive, like you've been saying, alluding to, and so those positive people around you. Who were some of the, you know, because like I know for me, one of the people that still plays a big role in my life, I met while I was in the penitentiary. He was my my drug and alcohol counselor, Lamont Sapp. Now he's the regional director of Southwest Penitentiary, the Southwest region. He's over the mental health and drug and alcohol, and he's still one of the people. I'm one of my mentors and everything that I talk to, regularly. So who were some of the people that, because I got more than that, but, he's one that really plays a big role in me wanting to get in and start helping people in the community and everything. So who were some of the people that played that role in your life?
Actually, I had two people that I had when I was incarcerated. Both of them were up there with me. Actually, one of them was my psychologist that I had for my entire 15 years I was up there. She got me through day to day, and I would just walk in and she'd be like, she already knew what was going on with me. And so, she knew me that well. And another one was the Horizon program director up there. She encouraged me through a lot. She knew exactly what I needed when I needed it, even though I felt like I didn't need it. And she kind of got me through some rough patches that way. And I'm still able with her to have contact with her now, whereas another issue for women, like my psychologist, we can have no contact with them once we leave there. So for some women, you feel the abandonment issues, you feel, you have to kind of grieve all over again, like you just lost someone. So I know a lot of women have a lot of issues with that. At least for me, I did. It took me 15 years to really instill trust into her. And then you're just cut straight off from them. You're gone, you're done. So it's like, in a sense, losing a loved one.
Right.
And so that is one of my main goals also here within the next year or so, is to get some type of program where we can have someone in between them and us once we're out here. They can contact whoever it is up there and get the information that they need and still be able to help us.
And and I like that idea, because that is important to have like a go-between to help the transition. Because as you know, a lot of times when we leave, we just leave and we don't have anything. And it's like we have to learn all over again how to readjust and everything like that. And having somebody to help us along that way, that will help us out. So I like that idea, Carolyn, and let me know any way I can help, because there's some women that I'm working with down this way that might be interested in helping you, or also passing on information that they might already have. The thing that I've learned is why one of the reasons why we do this is networking and helping each other find the resources that we need to, to do the things that we're doing in the community to help us heal and grow, So let's talk about this program I hear you talk so much about, and it seems like it was life-saving to you, the Horizon program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, the Horizon program came into the dorm that I was in, and at that point in time, the area where I was at, I ended up getting moved out of that dorm for a couple of weeks by accident. So when I came back in, I got put into a different location. And then at that point, I was kind of angry, like, I'm not even doing this program, So about a year later, I kind of left on a judicial. And so at that point in time, they wanted one more year out of me. So I had to go back. And that was one of the hardest things for me to do, was to sit in that van and ride back through them gates again. But everyone up there knew I was on my way back up. Everyone supported me when I got back up there. You know, the Horizon director was like, let's go. You're in my program. Didn't even have a choice. Exactly what I needed when I needed it. And she placed me every single place where I needed to be placed. And I fought her the whole way. You know, I was like, I don't need this. I don't need this, whatever. But she knew what I needed. So that I'm grateful for. And then when I did leave, I'm still in contact. I'm still working the program from the outside here, which we are starting like to kind of branch off with different new groups kind of under this name or so, you know, and one of them is, you know, women leadership for social change.
Okay.
I'll be getting ready to be trained on that, to train other women, you know, how to go into a courthouse, how to go sit into a courtroom and listen to these cases, how to write up a law that you want to go present in front of the White House or whatever you need to do. You know, you can go and all the political things. That's what we're going to say. We have a voice now.
That's right.
You know, and that's what we want to use. So we need to, you know, let these women know how to use it and the proper way to do it. So that's one of the we're working on right now.
Remind me after we get finished to get you in touch with Edwin Fuller with Building Futures Ohio, see if they have a chapter up there in Columbus, because that's one thing that we're working on and that we do is to help try to get a voice, you know, as far as like with the legislations and stuff like that. So that's what I say, it's always good. You never know where your resources might come from and who might have them. So, you know, so what kind of structure was the Horizon program? Because I know I did a CBT while I was locked up, you know, called Thinking for a Change and stuff like that. So what kind of structure was it? What kind of, you know, activities did you guys have to do and all of that stuff as far as like helping you prepare your thinking for once you left?
Well, we did numerous programs. I know I myself, I taught 27 different programs in Horizon, just not in Horizon, but in a couple other programs that I was also involved in. And, you know, we taught anything from relapse prevention. You know, I'm huge in my recovery. So I taught that quite a bit. We would teach people on how to change their attitudes, how to have a different look on life, how to go out and just have social skills. How are you going to just adjust in society again? How are you going to build your self-esteem? You know, are you battling depression, anxiety, whatever it may be? You know, I did a parenting program with them. They also had another one on, they did. So we had kind of two of them, but there was just numerous things. It was very structured. We, the girls had to do so many different programs within a certain amount of time, let alone all the outside volunteers that would come in and to help us also, you know, so it was very structured. And there was a lot to do. We always had something for someone to do.
And I know for me, you know, those things that I went through, and I was in. I remember sitting in some of those classes, like I'll never use this on the outside, and I found myself, you know, using a lot of that on the outside. What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned that you find yourself using, relying on? Some of the biggest tools that you find yourself relying on now that you sat in those classes, and some days it's like I don't want to be here, but now they seem to be like those life-saving skills and everything.
They are. Actually, they were my own groups. I had to teach these to these women, and I was like, okay, this is never going to happen, but maybe one of these ladies might use this, you know? Now I'm using it myself. Learn how to sit still, how to learn my surroundings, how to observe, you know, how to intake different approaches from people. You know, I feel like I have a target on me when I walked out. I still feel like, you know, if I go to the store or go run errands, I still feel like I have a target. Everyone knows. And I know that's not true and that I don't, but it's that inside feeling that we have and that process that we have to work through. And it's baby steps, so to say. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. You know, you take one place at a time. You walk in the door and you're like, okay, my surroundings are good. You know, for a lot of us women, we're always checking like, where are the exits? How can I escape out of here, so to say, you know? And, you know, you kind of do that, and you keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you push through it. So it has been a learning experience. You know, I've had to learn how to deal with, and I can only speak for women. You know, we had security lights on all night long up there. So we were never in darkness. You know, so now coming home and you're sleeping in the dark, or you're walking into a dark house, it's a whole new experience. So you're kind of to that. Like for me still, I still let the radio play all night because it's too quiet if I don't. You know, it's still through.
And, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because, you know, like March 30th made 11 years since I've been home. And when you just said that, it made me think in my mind, like, how long was I home before I could stop sleeping with the TV on, and or you know, because you know, as you're used to all of that chaos and everything. And it was about 5-6 years. So yeah, you know, before I got to that point where I could really relax at night without having to have something to, because I was so used to it, you know. So I mean, yeah, that makes sense, you know, that we have, and as we stay out here and use those tools that we learn in those programs, it becomes easier for us to adjust, though. That's what I've learned, you know.
It is. I just went through another hard lesson also a couple weeks ago. You know, once I was released on my judicial, I was also put on house arrest. Okay. So I home to my parents' home, which I'm extremely blessed and thankful for that. And they went away for 4 or 5 days. And that was the first time I was truly alone. Myself out of all, you know, the past 17 years. So you just sit and you're okay, what's going to happen next? And that fear comes over you. You're like, how do I handle this? What do I do? Like, who's going to come walking in the door? And I'm not, you know, you're always waiting for someone to walk through the door or whatever it may be.
Right.
So it took me, I got through it, but that was a tough venture too.
Now oh, sorry about that. I'm looking at your, you know, list of things that you're involved in. I mean, for me, I understand that, you know, from my own point of view, and I'm seeing, have to stay busy. That way, I started finding new friends that, you know, I didn't feel so lonely. And I'm seeing that, you know, you talked a little about the Women for Social Change, but also I see that you're involved with Spirit of Circles. I thought I had that on mute. I'm sorry about that. Spirit of Circles, Hope Letters. Restoring Voices, Values of Reentry, and the Battle Test Bags for Returning Citizens. What is the Spirit of Circles, and what do you guys do with that?
Spirit of Circles is a program which I just came into about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I believe we're just getting it started. And it's kind of where it's just women, and we talk about every single day things, daily things that are going to happen to us. You know, it's hard to get a job. How do you function? I mean, it's just when you become overwhelmed, what do you do? Where do you turn to? It's, you know, the barriers that we have to overcome as women.
Right.
Barriers that we've been through. It's just a huge support group where we can go in and we can have different topics at every single meeting. And we just support one another and we pull each other through.
Okay.
You know, we give suggestions, give ideas. We try to help one another.
And what about the Restoring Voices?
Restoring Voices is just skills in your habits. Are you going to change your habits once you come out of prison? What are your new habits going to be? Do you even know what different habits are? You know, for some women, this is the only lifestyle they've ever known.
Right.
So now when they're coming out here into something new, they don't know what it is. We have to show them what it is. You know, so we'll be there to support them, kind of guide them along.
And the last one I want to ask you about is values of reentry. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, it's someone to hear our voice. It's to get our voices out there and to be heard and to be understood. You
So
know,
go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
no, you're right. Hopefully to get the citizens that are out here to understand us. You know, we all make mistakes.
Right.
Every single one of us. And whether we, you know, and for me, my higher power is God. I'm just going to put it into each their own.
Right, right.
And for me, a sin is a sin, whether you lie and tell someone they look nice in an outfit or whatever they made for dinner was really good and it really wasn't. You know, a sin is a sin. It doesn't matter. So I believe we're all sinners to some degree. So we should never judge one another. We should be there to support each other regardless, whether you've been incarcerated or you have not.
And you know,
So
that's a good point, because you know, like, that's one of the biggest things that we have to deal with when we come home, the stigma, because you know, society paints the restored citizen or the returning citizen as once a criminal, all a criminal, until it hits home.
yep.
A lot of people, you know, they always talk about, well, if you don't do the crime, you don't do. And you know, and I'm not going to get into the criminal justice, you know, reforms that I think we need to do and all of that stuff, because you know, as you know, and from being on this side now, it seems like once we become on this side and we start doing the work, we find out, you know, how much, how man, they legislate everything in Ohio. There's a law for, you know, and people don't realize that, you know, I'm not making excuses. I broke the law. I know I did. I got caught with a half a kilo of cocaine. Shit, that is not law-abiding citizen. I mean, but you know, at the same time, people don't realize that, you know, they legalize. I mean, they legislate a lot of things. Like for many years, drug addiction wasn't it wasn't being taken care of like it is now. It was a crime. It was a
Right.
crime. So we have 80% of the people who are locked up in our penal system who should have been getting treatment or something like that. Then they don't even realize that, you know, when they closed down the mental health hospitals, we had a lot of people who were mentally, you know, who had mental illnesses who end up in the criminal system because they didn't have nowhere to put them. And a lot of society needs to know about these things, because you're like, a lot of people shouldn't have these crimes on and like that. So breaking down those walls are important to let people know that, you know, look, we made mistakes, but now we're out here and we're doing some good things, and we're just regular citizens. We go to work, we pay taxes like everybody else, we do these things. So what were some of the biggest lessons that you had that you've had to learn and that you're learning as becoming a restored citizen?
Who to let in my life and who not to let in my life. A lot of people will judge me. A lot of people look at me differently now because I have been incarcerated, because I did make a mistake. And I did what I did. You know, I own up to what I did. But look at my background. Look at who I was for, you know. Look at what I went through in order for this case to catch me. And then go from there. But once you walk through my shoes and once you had been through what I had been through at that point in time in my life,
right,
please don't judge me or anyone else. So I've let a lot go. I will say hello in passing and just keep it going. You know, I don't need the judgment. I any of that kind of stuff. I'm a lot stronger now. You know, I'm very independent now. I know who I am, what I want, what I'm going to stand for, what I'm not going to tolerate. Whereas before, I never used my voice. Now I will. And a lot of people are hated by me by that now.
That's good. You know, having that voice and knowing how to use it is something, you know, we no longer have to suffer in silence and everything. So, you know, I'm looking at it that, you know, you're on your way back to school to get to work on psychology, social work, and get your CDCA, huh? So, what influenced you to want to pursue that career of helping people?
Well, for one, the trauma that I went through something very traumatic, and that kind of led up to my addiction and then the case. I don't want anyone else to go through that. I went through a very, very intense trauma program while I was up through the mental health department. And it actually turned me around. It changed a lot of things in my life. It brought a lot of things to surface that I needed to deal with that I had never dealt with before in my life. And once I dealt with that, it was like, that big burden was gone. And I don't want anyone else to suffer or keep that pain inside of them like I did for all them years. You need to just let it go. Let's work through it. It's not easy, but we can do it. And, be a new person and move on with your life for the happiness and the joy and the peace, everything that you deserve. And people do deserve that. So I want everyone else to be able to have that also. So if I can help someone else not go down that path that I went down, just be able to stop one person from using, maybe that might have a ripple effect on, and
it will.
Let's just keep paying it forward. One life is one life. Let's save it. Whether it's from a or it's from addiction, let's save it. Let's step in and do whatever we can do. Even if we just need to sit there, just sit beside someone to know that they're not alone.
And
I thought I was been through for all these years, and I'm not. And it made a huge difference. I just want everyone else to know that also.
Right. And that's when you talk about the trauma, that's one of the things that we talk about in Felons with a Future. We work on 4 different stages of trauma. We work on the trauma that our initial trauma that led us to a life of crime. Because a lot of people don't understand. Most people who are committing crimes or using substances aren't just doing it because they don't have nothing else to do. There's some sort of trauma. And a lot of times we don't realize what a person's background is or what it was caused it. So we work on the initial trauma that sent them to the life of crime, out to the streets or however, they ended up where they were at. Then we work on the trauma that they go through while they're in their life of crime or in the streets or whatever they're going through. Because people don't realize that, to get up and go use drugs every day or to get up and go commit crimes, that's traumatic because you have to psych yourself. A lot of people don't realize that you got to psych yourself up a lot of times to do that. Then maybe it might become second nature where you're just doing it because you've had to, your paradigm has changed to become one that thinks like that. Then we talk about it and we work on the set of trauma that they go through, that we've gone through while we're incarcerated. People don't realize the things that go on, they look at the prison movies and what they don't realize that a lot of things that they see on the prison movies is not the reality of what goes on in there. There are some things that happen that are in the movies and stuff, but it's traumatizing when you're sleeping in your bed at 2:30 in the morning and the SRTs come through, turn on every lights and have you standing up butt naked in front of a whole bunch of other people and all of that. Are they running through all your stuff and throwing it around? That's traumatizing. It's traumatizing. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff is traumatizing that you go through. And then having to come home and try to readjust back to society. That's another level of trauma that, a lot of people don't realize, where, like you said, you were gone for 15 years. And when you left, cell phones weren't like they were here now, and having trying to realize, readjust to how do I go? Because I know in just the 2 years that I was gone for 2 years, I was out for 9 months and some time. Then I went and had to go do 6 more months, as a result of another felony. And then, and just in that 2 years, I seen how things change and trying to readjust. That's traumatizing to some people. And if we don't properly deal with that, it can lead us to those self-defeating thoughts like, I might as well just go back to what I'm used to. So it was important that I'm hearing you talk about that set of trauma and working on that trauma and everything like that. Let me make sure this thing is turned off. I don't want it to keep ringing. But so yeah. So like, what are your plans in the future as you move forward?
What I would like to do, like I said, I'm getting ready to start school back up again and learn more technology. I'm still learning technology. I still don't know how to work my phone all the way and do all these different things. When I'm totally lost, I will hand my phone to someone and say, please do it. So technology is a huge one, going back to school, getting my degrees, and hopefully starting the program somehow, with having a mediator in between the psychologist in the prison system and the returnees. Someone that can work with us so we don't feel completely abandoned. We're out here and we're like, now what do we do? Where do we go? Who do we talk to? How do we get help? That is extremely tough. For me personally, I battle depression. I'm not able to take medication for it. So it's a day by day thing for me. Some days are better than others, but I have to keep pushing through it. But who is there for me in order to confide in? And then once we have that trust issue. So that's a big barrier right there. You know, we finally feel comfortable with someone. We share absolutely our whole life with them, and then we're gone. They're ripped out. They're ripped away from us.
Right.
We need that person to go in between somehow to help us. You know, so that's a program I really want to get started. I also just want to help these women that have been through trauma, whatever I can do for them. Let's get a program going for them. You know, a safe place where they can go and they can feel safe. They can trust someone. They can share whatever's needed, and they don't have to feel like they're alone. That's huge for me.
Right. And the beautiful thing is, Carolyn, is like, you know, some of the things that you're talking about, you know, is I found for me what happened was I ran into some people, you know, with the ideas. I talked to one person and it opened up a whole new world for me to find different people who were able to help. Because see, what people don't realize is like Felons with a Future was started officially in July of last year, and we got it up and running and finished our first class last week, all in that time period. But the idea started while I was incarcerated, because I was like wondering how did I get here, you know, and all of that stuff. And I was like, more importantly, how can I save myself from coming back here and still help other people from coming back? So the skills that I learned in the streets, as far as like being a businessman and all that, you know, because doing illegal business is business, whether people realize it or not. Yeah, and I was able to take that and start some legitimate businesses. So I said, okay, maybe if I put this model together, I can help other people become business people. And that, you know, when they invest themselves into something their own, that takes away that lie that we tell ourselves, oh, I'll never get a good job because I have a felony. Or why should I keep on doing this? And because if I own my own business, I'm going, you know, I'm going to put more into it. So, and I'm, you know, we're yet to see how it really goes down. But like I said, we started classes in January. We just finished our first class. Um, Out of the 5 people who started, 3 of them finished. So we feel like that's pretty good, and we're ready to start up again in May. So the good thing is that, you know, interviews like this will help you find more people who will help you to make your dream of helping other women come true. Because there's a lot of people already doing those things, and just something like this will help you find those resources. And one thing I tell anybody, whether we're on the show or not, I mean, whether we're on this channel or not, my resources are now your resources. If you need help, you know, finding anybody or connecting you with people, or just my experience of how I had to go about forming my nonprofit and the things and everything like that, don't hesitate to call me. I mean, seriously, because I can always, if I don't know it, I can point you in the right direction. And that's what we find out in this community of reentry, that, you know, there's a lot of people who really want to help each other because we're doing a lot of good things in the community. So before we get out of here, if you could tell somebody who's coming home right now and they're thinking that, okay, this interview sounds nice for her, but I can't ever get to where she's at, what would you tell them to encourage them that just they could make it to where you are?
You can make it anywhere you want to go to. Just have faith, have hope, believe in yourself. Take it one day at a time. We're going to have setbacks. I've had numerous setbacks. Be prepared for that. And it's okay, because you learn something out of each setback, and it's going to put you further into the future. You know, just take it one day at a time. That's all I can say. Just set small goals and achieve them, and then continue on with bigger ones. But you can do it if you put all the effort into it. It's not easy, but if you put effort into it, you're going to make it.
And again, I thank you, Carolyn. I really do. And I'm going to have you back on in a few months so we can have an update on what's going on with you, you know, because one thing I believe in is like knowing that if somebody's asking me to come back on, that helps me motivate myself to say, okay, I want to be able to tell them this is what's happening with my update when we come back on. And also we need people who follow this channel who, are restored and returning citizens who watch this and say, okay, I'm watching them grow, I can grow too, and give them the hope, because that's what it's all about, is the hope shot. So again, I'd like to thank you so much for coming and giving me this time. I mean, for real, it was inspirational hearing you talk that Sunday, and I knew I needed to have you on. I thought I turned the ringer off. See what I mean? See, it's one of those days. I swear, I think today is not a Tuesday. It's really a Monday.
I feel
But
having me definitely be back. So thank you.
And we thank everybody for participating by watching. And if you enjoyed this video or any other content that we have on this channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. Share this with your friends and other people on social media. Like we say, that's the biggest way of support that we can get. If you have it to give it monetary, we would appreciate it so we can keep going on. If not, please just hit the like button and subscribe. Share this content with other people, because like we say, we are trying to break down the stereotype of how people see restored citizens. With that being said, we thank you again, Carolyn, and we thank everybody else. With that, I'd like to tell everybody good night and have a good day. Be safe, stay safe out there.